Go ahead.
Hello, everybody. We would like to welcome everyone to the Spirituality in Action call with our friend and guest, Angie Lile. I'm Nanette Rogers-Kennedy here with Dee Meyer. We are the co-coordinators of Humanities Team Spirituality in Action program. Before we start the interview, we would like to thank our donors for your support of Spirituality in Action, because without your financial help and without others' in-kind donations, we would not be able to do the work in the world that we are trying to do. On our calls, we like to begin with the 5 Steps to Peace written by Neale Donald Walsch, our founder. And Dee, I'm going to call upon you. Would you please read the 5 Steps to Peace?
Sure, and welcome everyone. Peace will be attained when we as human beings permit ourselves to acknowledge that some of our old beliefs about God and about life are no longer working. Explore the possibility that there is something we do not understand about God and about life, the understanding of which could change everything. Announce that we are willing for new understandings of God and life to now be brought forth, understandings that could produce a new way of life on this planet. Courageously examine these new understandings, and if they align with our personal inner truth and knowing, enlarge our belief system to include them. Express our lives as a demonstration of our highest beliefs rather than as a denial of them. This was written by Neale Donald Walsch from his book, New Revelations. We want to make sure that you've had the opportunity to listen to the last calls being offered by Humanities Team, the Humanities Prayer and Intention and Meditation call led by Reverend Michelle Savaco, the recent interviews, Spirituality in Action interviews with Neale Donald Walsch, Marbeth Dunn, Debbie Satofsky, and Carl Stedna. So we're so excited to share this wonderful hour with you. Now Nanette is going to introduce you to our dear friend, Angie Lile.
And that is a true statement, very dear friend, and feel very blessed to know Angie. Angie Lile is the mother of twin daughters, a wife, filmmaker, business owner, and a spiritual activist. God's Clue is her first children's book and was inspired by true events that occurred while trying to explain the passing of a beloved family pet. Angie currently volunteers for the grassroots spiritual movement Humanities Team, which was founded by Neale Donald Walsch. She is the primary filmmaker for Humanities Team and also does a variety of social marketing for the group and for Neale Donald Walsch himself. Her other inspirations include such authors as Marianne Williamson, Deepak Chopra, Eckhart Tolle, Wayne Dyer, Louise Hay, Barbara Marx Hubbard, and many, many more. Other volunteer positions include the Waldo Business Area Association in the Kansas City area, the Tower Homes Association, as well as the Girl Scout Cookie Mom, PTA volunteer and organizer of a local Humanities Team group. Angie has also produced a children's web series called Art Felt Learning, which teaches children about our interconnectedness through interesting art projects. Recently, Angie was invited to be a contributor to vividlife.me, a Canadian-based online spiritual resource center. Angie blogs there about conscious parenting and has many more interesting stories to share about raising her twins as a conscious parent. Of course, she hopes to write more of these books as life presents them to her. Now, unfortunately, the illustrator of this awesome book that Angie wrote, Lori Cartwright, can't be with us today, but I just want to say a few words about her. And first of all, I love the artwork in the book. Lori Cartwright is a longtime believer that everything and everyone is connected. She approaches art with her spiritual perspective, hoping to convey the life force within each of her drawings. This book was an answer to her prayer that she would be able to share her beliefs with others and assist with healing through her art. And we will send out a note after this interview, but I'm going to read to you the website for Lori Cartwright. And it's http:// as in Sam, A-I, F as in Frank, O-N-A-R-T as in Mary, B as in boy, LR.com. Dee, over to you.
Well, welcome, Angie, and thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today.
Wow, thank you so much for having me on this call. I really admire the work that you guys are doing with these spirituality and action calls, and so I'm just so excited to have this conversation with you two.
Well, we're so excited to have you with us. One of the things that we discussed earlier is that we would really love it if you could read God's Clue for our listening audience. Could you do that for us?
I would love to, and I hope you don't mind, but I would like to start with the dedication that's at the front, because we each of us wrote a dedication to the book because the process was a long process, and when we finished it all up, we really, these words are just so filled with every emotion that we had at the time when it was completed. So the first dedication is from me, and I dedicated this book to God for giving this story to us almost exactly as it is, to my husband who always believes in me, to my beautiful girls for their constant love and encouragement, and to Savannah, the cat the book was written about, and for sharing her life and transition with us. And Lori wrote her dedication for her wonderful friends and family, for encouraging her husband and her 4 beautiful children, and for their unconditional love and sharing their mom time with her art. And to God, the pure essence and spirit of life from which all creative energy flows, which I really believe that too. And so the story starts. One day, not long ago, in a place not far away, lived a happy family. There was Dad, and there was Mom, and there was Maggie and Sophie, who were only 3.5 years old. They had 2 dogs and 2 cats. Crook was a German Shepherd. Sneaker was our white fluffy cat. Sam is an Australian Shepherd. And Savannah is a Siamese cat. One day, Mom said to Maggie and Sophie, "Girls, I think you should know that Savannah will be leaving us soon to go and live with God for a while." Now, the girls were very smart for their age, and they remembered that Mom had told them that God lived inside of them. So they were very interested to know that Savannah would be going there too. "God lives inside of us," Sophie exclaimed. Mom said, "Yes, and all around us and inside everything we see." A few days later, Mom was very sad as she told the girls that Savannah had gone to live with God. The girls were confused. Why was Mom sad? "Why are you sad, Mom?" Maggie asked. "I'm going to miss her furry little body in that special way she purrs at me," Mom said. Maggie didn't like to see her mom sad and began to feel very sad herself. "I don't want you to be sad, Mom," Sophie explained. "It's okay to feel sad," Mom explained. "We will miss Savannah, but we'll learn to live with her in this new way. She is still part of us and is still very much with us. She just doesn't have her body anymore." Then Mom had an idea. "I know. Let's go out in the yard and look for clues that show us that Savannah is still with us, even though we can't see her." Now, the girls were very excited to look for clues. They had many adventure books that had lots of treasure hunting in them, so they were ready to go. First, Mom said, "Let's say a little prayer to God for helping in finding the clue we're looking for." The girls both clasped their hands and looked solemn. Mom said, "Dear God, please lead us to the clue that you have put outside for us to find, which lets us know without a doubt that Savannah is still with us. Thank you and amen." "Amen," the girls chimed. Then they all went outside. Mom made sure to lead them to all of the great clue hiding spots, like under the tree, behind the rocks, and in the flower beds. They didn't know what the clue would look like, so they were just looking for anything unusual. Suddenly, while looking through the flowers, both the girls spied the clue at the same time. "Look," they both said simultaneously, as twins are sometimes apt to do. "What is this?" Mom came over to look, and tears began to shine in her eyes. "Well, look at that. God has left this here for us to find." She leaned over to get a closer look. "What is it?" Maggie said again, rather wondrously. "This is a cicada bug," Mom said, "and it likes to shed its skin as it grows. It's a beautiful, colorful bug that sings loudly when the sun is setting." The girls looked at it, and Sophie says, rather smartly, "But it's not colorful at all." "Exactly," said Mom, smiling. "But if we watch for a bit, we can see that it just changed its body and will soon be flying around in a beautiful new body. Just like Savannah changed her old body and is now free to fly around anywhere she pleases, including to be with us." The three watched as the beautiful insect began to emerge from the dry, shriveled up skin around it. When it finally loosed itself from its old skin, it sat for a bit in the sun, letting its wings dry out. "Wow," said the girls together again. "Savannah sure is lucky," said Maggie. "But you'll still miss her, huh, Mom?" Mom thought about it. "No, Maggie, I don't think I'll miss her as much now. Thanks to this clue, I'll always remember that she's right here." With that, she tapped the girls on their chest and gave them each a great, big mommy hug. And I ended this book with a quote from Neil Donald Walsh and his book, Conversations with God, which says, "You never do die. You simply change form."
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm. It is absolutely beautiful, Angie.
Thanks.
I really love the part where you take the girls outside to look for clues, that Savannah is still with you, and the prayer that you shared, "Dear God, please lead us to the clues." That's just amazing. And if, we could just take that prayer and apply it to daily life and all of the different aspects of life, it's teaching your daughters and all children a new way of being. And I just love that.
Yes, and it's just so much more magical for me because it really did happen that way. The only difference is that the bug wasn't really emerging, but we did find the cicada shell. And so then we looked up online to see, how it comes out and the beautiful, insect. And then later when we were at the school, one of those cicada bugs landed right on my shoulder, and I was able to show them just how pretty this bug really was. So, it all just happened so magically that, I knew I had to write it.
So we are working on bringing God's Clue into Humanities Team Store, but until then, Angie, can you share your website information where people can purchase your beautiful book?
Yes, we have a website at godsclue.com. It's GODSCLUE.com. And the website, right on the website, there's a button that you can click on where to buy. The book is self-published, and we did that through Lulu. And so right now the only way to purchase it is through there until we get it available on Humanities Team.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. I, too, am a writer, so I'm going to ask you a question that's geared towards the writing process.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes when we receive an inspiration, a calling, or a knowing, there's that next step that requires the action needed to bring a project about, like writing a book. And I just wondered if you wanted to share with our listeners the process of how you came to write God's Clue. What was it that inspired you to take action to put it all into words and into story?
Well, it's really funny because almost everything that I write happens just so instantly that I don't really have a chance to talk myself out of it. So, and this was the first time it had happened to me, but when we were out looking around for clues, and we really did say the prayer, we really went outside, and we were looking around. It was a summer day, and, we found the cicada shell, and I explained to them what happened just like in the book. Everything happened exactly the way it is, because then I went inside immediately and wrote it within 15 or 20 minutes. It doesn't take long to capture the initial story, even if you run right in and just jot it down, because that inspiration that comes immediately. I saw the whole thing just flash before my eyes almost. And the hardest part for me was when it came time to illustrate it. So, writing the book was easy, but then I thought to myself, well, how do I make this into a children's book? Because this is exactly what it needs to be. This is a message for little girls and boys everywhere who've lost their little, family pet and have to watch their parents be sad and try to decide for themselves, should I be sad or not, and that's what I was going through in that moment. So I think seizing the moment and jumping on that as soon as you have your inspiration is really key. And you can always go back and fine tune, and miracles start to happen, as I found out when I met Lori.
I was just going to ask you, because the artwork is very compelling, and because I have met you and your daughters and your husband and your animals, I was really kind of blown away because I can see the resemblance, and it's very beautiful. How did you meet Lori?
Lori lived in my neighborhood, and she was part of a babysitting co-op that was in the neighborhood between moms, and it was just kind of a neat way to get to know other moms in the neighborhood. And it was before the girls were starting school, so I was interested in learning about the other parents' experiences with the schools in the neighborhood. And Lori's children went to the same school that my children now attend, which is a Montessori school, and very much in alignment with oneness principles, with the way they teach children the universal connection that we all have to everything, and the consequences of our actions, and also just to really understand how to work together as a team. I love the Montessori style. So I immediately kind of had this, great like for Lori, and just kind of felt like she was kind of, the same kind of person that I am as far as, how we feel about life. But I didn't realize that she was also connected to Humanities Team, because she had also read Neil's book and had her own, thing going on with Neil Donald Walsh's work, as many of us have experienced his messages or messages like that, the messages of oneness and how that affects our lives. And so what happened was I was organizing an event for Humanities Team where the Love Tour was going around. Do you remember when we had the European Love Tour, and many of the Humanities Team folks came over from Europe and rented a mobile home and toured the countryside. And I begged them to come to Kansas City. I was just getting to know everybody and really wanted to meet some of my teammates that I hadn't met yet. And so I told them I would organize an event. And so I had put a call out to my Humanities Team list, and she responded and said, "Hi, I'm on this list." Which is really funny, because she said, "I didn't know you were involved with Humanities Team." She was on the global list, and I was just blown away by that. And she said, "I have art. I'd like to show this art at your event. May I bring it?" And I was like, sure. She even gave us $25 for like a booth fee and the whole 9 yards. And she brings her art out, and there's these beautiful pictures of pets and people, and it's just like in the book. You can see this beautiful shine in their eyes, and there's so much life in it that I immediately knew that this was the person I had to ask. to help me illustrate the book, because it all happened just really in the same timeline. So I told her, I said, I've just written this book. I'm just trying to figure out how in the heck I'm going to illustrate it so that it looks the way I feel like it happened in my mind. I've got these pictures. I'd already picked out pictures that I had taken of my family and everything and the animals. And I said, do you think you can illustrate these pictures to some degree? And so, now you see the finished work. And it was just beautiful how it all came together.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just blown away myself that she's just really good at capturing the soul energy of the pictures.
Yeah, I could not agree more. And because I do write myself, there's been a few times where I've had an illustrator illustrate, and I'm thinking, that's not at all what I was thinking. And obviously, you and Lori have made that connection through not only through your friendship, but your spirituality. And obviously, she's very in tune with what you were trying to convey. So I think it's just beautiful. Words, images, dedications, it's very beautiful.
Thank you. I think it really turned out well, and I can't really take all the credit, obviously, because, when it just happens like that, it's so, effortless. I think ultimately the work really was, creating a website, promoting a book, and trying to sell it. I mean, that's where the work is. The love in this book is just, it created itself.
Along with your family.
Yes. Yes.
Over
and
to
all
you,
of the pets are gone, all of the pets are gone in the book, and but the girls still pull the book out and read it, and occasionally Maggie still tells me even that she still misses Savannah, but all of our pets that we have now are just, they still have that same energy, so it's easier. But we just love to pull the book out and look at it and remember back to that time where, we had all of them around us.
Mhm.
Angie, you've really mastered the art of storytelling. Do you have any advice for our listeners about writing books for children? And also, the second part of that is, how do you connect with spirit to create writing that conveys this beautiful life force?
Oh, man, that's a fun question. I have to say that like I said, everything I've written it was so spontaneous and comes from an actual experience of having to explain something to my kids, and it's driven by a desire to really communicate everything that I feel about a situation, because growing up, I always got the short answer from my parents. If I asked a question about something in life, I would always get the very short, abbreviated answer because parents are, they're busy. They don't take the time to really invest in a serious answer. And in some cases, that's great, because a kid like me will just go and explore my own, answers and have to come up with my own answers, which is great. But I also felt like all this time I really wanted to know, what did they think the answer was, to all of life's questions. What happens to our pets, when they die? And I remember losing my first pet when I was, I think I was 6 or 7. And, lost a pet, and it was really difficult. And I remember that my parents did struggle with it. They said, of course your pet went to heaven, and your pet will be waiting for you. And, but I still miss my pet. And it was hard to explain, the difference between, well, you shouldn't be sad because your pet's okay and in heaven, but you are sad because, you miss your pet. You miss the furry, cuddly, snuggly warmth that your pet gave you, and that feeling of connection that you had with your pet.
Yeah,
So,
I remember that too.
Yeah.
My parents would invent stories like our pets went to live on a farm or all kinds of things, but it wasn't very, forthright. And
short answer, and yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get on to the next topic, shall we?
Yeah, how's your dinner? Well, and I'm telling you, and I know that both of you know this about me, that it reminds me of when I was 8. My father died from cancer. So before I'd ever lost a pet, I'd lost a parent. And I was very blessed to have a mother who was very forthright and open about, God, or your father will always be in your heart. He will be your guardian angel. He's no further than your next breath. So I was very blessed in that respect. And even though I'd gone through that kind of a traumatic experience, the pet we had at the time was my father's hunting dog. And it had been with the family since I was about 3, so we'd had the dog for about 5 years. And maybe about 5 years later, I came home from school, and my mother said to us kids that Daddy's dog had died, and that he would now be with Daddy. Well, I completely spaced out all these good things my mother had said to me and said, oh, my God, it's the last living part of Daddy. Now it's gone. And my mother looked at me and she said, well, what about your brothers and sisters? And I said, well, that's different. It's totally different. I want to know about the dog. And so my mom went through kind of a similar story about how, the dog was still going to be in our lives and always in our memories and our hearts. And so I think what you've done here by putting this into story form is so very important. And you've already kind of mentioned how, when you're, for some families, especially, when it's a first death of any kind in a household, there is that awkward, uncomfortable moment of, do I want to break the news and watch my children have to deal with sadness, or do I want to escape? And I think what you've done here is you hit it right head on. Mm-hmm. And children, I am here to tell you, as both of you also know because you have kids, but I know from having been a small person when my father died, that people often treated me like I was too young to understand what was going on, and I guarantee you I was not, because I was blessed with people around me who kept me in the know and were not trying to shield me. And I just think you've done a great job with this story in not trying to shield what is a natural part of life.
I think, too, that you're bringing in that new perspective of the changing times, where there is this honest, kind, and loving approach. And these books are really needed and necessary to help shift to this different perspective for all of humanity, where there is that approach.
Yeah, I think that you hit it on the head there with Dee, because that is exactly what happened with this story, and that, wow, I was able to get through this big hump. I mean, as a parent, it's daunting to have to explain to children death, sex, you name it. There are these things that we are, very nervous about having to talk about with our kids because we don't want to mess it up. We don't want to, it's all coming from this fear of I don't want to damage my child forever by making them afraid of something, and at the time I was really coming into a spiritual awakening of my own and recognizing there was a lot of beauty and magic in my life. And Spirit was revealing that to me almost every single day, just instant manifestations and all kinds of really wonderful things. So, when I said we would find a clue, I believed it. And I wanted that experience for them too, because they were young enough to remember something like that. and for me to have support from Spirit to say, don't let me down. I'm going to tell my kids that their pet is not gone. So help me out here, and show me a clue. And that really happened. So for me, I said, I have to write this because this magic really does happen, and it's not just me. And if you have that magical thing happen in your life, it's a story. It's a wonderful story. It might be a blog post. I've got lots of interesting blog posts since then that I've written about everyday experiences, from, finding a trash bag in the park to finding a spider in the window in the bathroom, and they all turn into these really wonderful spiritual lessons about life. And so the stories are really just all around you in your everyday life.
Wonderful. Have you thought about putting your blog post into book form?
Oh, I think I would love to. I ran out of time, but I think that I'd love to ask Lori to help me illustrate another story. The one about the spider recently was a really good one. And so, there's a few in me, I think, but we've just been so busy. We get busy with our humanitarian volunteer stuff, don't we, ladies?
We do. True.
That is so very true. And if I could, I want to ask you another quick question that I think that I don't want it to be glossed over. Something you said that I think is so important is that when you reach out to Spirit, when you have these difficult conversations with your kids, no matter how old they are, it to me, and it does start to become a habit, especially when it's a really difficult thing. And I know that when I have those times where I have to either share difficult news with one of my kids, or, even if I need to discipline them for something, in my mind, and if they're not sitting right next to me, I say, Holy Spirit, please guide my lips. And I really can feel a connection there, so that I don't do that thing that you're talking about, that we all fear. We don't want to damage our children for life. And so I think it's very important that that's underscored in this conversation.
Angie, hey, would you do us a quick favor and repeat the prayer? I think it's so interesting in remembering how to pray. So could you share that with us?
Yes. Let me get back to that page. Okay. Dear God, please lead us to the clue that you have put outside for us to find, which lets us know without a doubt that Savannah is still with us. Thank you and amen.
Beautiful.
And that is definitely something that I picked up from Neil's work and from other spiritual authors that I've read, where, ask and it's given. It's already there for you. And I really do try to put that message out to my kids as often as I can. If you can dream it, it's achievable. And, if you need a clue, it's there. Just go find it and be thankful. And so whenever we pray, we always try to, put that, we know that this is done, and just help us to see where it is, what it is, and what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think we're go ahead, Annette.
I was just going to say, I was going to have you ask about any upcoming.
Okay.
Take it away.
So do you have any upcoming book projects? Is there anything more that you'd like to share with us?
At the moment, I'm not working on any projects, but I am working on a project, but it's not a children's book. But it is more along the lines of spirit activism. So I go where I'm led when it comes to writing. So, but I'm available on Facebook, and we have the website. So if anyone wants to reach out or start to follow my meanderings, they're welcome to do so.
Well, thank you so much for being with us. Your friendship and ability to bring about beautiful, inspiring writing and books and so many other things is such a gift to us. We're really grateful for having you on today as our special guest.
Well,
ditto.
I'm very thankful to you, too. You both are so important to the work of Humanities Team, and we really appreciate all those interviews, these great interviews that you're doing.
Well, thank you, Angie. This was just so easy. And I mean, it really, it's nice, and we're really glad you were able to be with us today.
I was so happy to do it.
Well, can you repeat one more time where they can find your book to purchase?
You bet. It's godsclue.com, GODSCLUE.com. And it should be pretty easy to find the book and where to purchase it from there, but it's located on Lulu, which is a self-publishing website. And it's in paperback and digital form, so you can choose which one you want.
Thank you so much, Angie, and we will talk to you very soon.
Thank you so much, Dee and Nanette. You guys have a wonderful day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.